Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we are rolling. It is Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I am Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. We're just a couple dudes hanging out. I'm drinking whiskey tonight. You got some, I don't know, Diet Pepsi or some shit. Talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 217 of Gridiron Grinder, and we had a week off, so tonight's schedule's a little bit different than I guess normal for this type of year. But we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium. That we always do. Cover the news from this past week. That we always do. After that, we're going to rewind here a little bit. We're going to do our regular season picks recap. Then we're going to go back even further and we're going to do a recap of our preseason record predictions by team. Then we're going to talk about our playoff bet details since you and I have officialized that offline and we just need to, I guess, put it on the record. And then we'll do our divisional round game picks. We could talk about the Super Wild Card Weekend. Well, I don't know. Do they call it Super still, or is it just Wild Card Weekend now?
I think they just call it Wild Card Weekend now.
Yeah, they just
Maybe.
did the Super like the first year or two to, I don't know, get people excited about the new teams. But either way, we'll talk about that since we already got a week in the books, and then we'll wrap it up with our question of the week. And so, yeah, a little long-winded to start us off here, James. How is it going with you tonight, my man?
Uh, It's going all right. As you can see, I had to kind of cancel last week because I got the flu, and then just felt like shit in general. And I'm in California, so like we're perpetually under like a red flag warning all week. Turn off the power at any moment because they feel like it. Which don't get me started there. But it's going. It's going. I was lazy this week because I'm super fucking pumped for this game this weekend. But
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Well, I wasn't going to go there with the power stuff, but I was going to ask you if you had any hot toddies while you were sick.
no, I did not. I just drank fucking diet burners all fucking day. Just like probably like 3 liters of diet burners a day. Like
Oh,
just like
that's
just like
the
slamming the shit.
yeah, that's the Michigan blood in you, wanting the Vernors.
Yeah,
Which, hey,
exactly.
Vernors is great when you're not feeling right. And the hot toddy is intriguing as it is. I think a lot of doctors say it doesn't help; it just makes it worse. So,
Yeah.
probably good you stayed away from it. So,
Yeah. So
all right. Well, hey, my man, whenever you're ready, why don't you do a little name that stadium for us?
all right, as people can see, traveling around different stadiums, host NFL games. Like I said, I was lazy this week. I went to the same place I was 2 weeks ago. I was super pumped up about the Minnesota game in week 18. So I went to Detroit. First person guesses right gets an extra special shout out. Bookmark it, play it back for all your friends. You know the drill. Guess where I am this week? Like I just told you because I was lazy this week because I'm super super fucking pumped about this game this weekend.
Yes.
Um, so you know, play in that stadium, motherfucker.
Yes, that's name that stadium, and we welcome any takers. Um, all right, well, enough of that. Going on to our recap of the past week here, James. Um, I thought, why don't we start off by talking about surprises from the wild card weekend, or if there were any, in your opinion. Um, I mean, I would just say, the first game we had on the slate was the Chargers and the Texans.
The
I
Texans
was
Texans regularly scheduled playoff spot at what was that 3 o'clock Eastern or 4:30 Eastern time on Saturday Super Wildcard Weekend. Um,
I was shocked about Herbert throwing 4 picks. I know two of them weren't really his fault, but man, for a guy that was like ultra efficient with the touchdown to interception ratio all year, that was just a bummer of a way to end the season.
yeah, um, really was. I don't know. I have no explanation for what the hell happened.
Well, you know, two of them, the receivers had their hands on it and kind of popped it up, which ended up being a problem. Those get picked off really easily. And then I think the other two, one of them was sort of garbage time when they were getting desperate, and it didn't really matter, right? And then one of them was just kind of just a bad play coming out of the gate of the second half. And so, you know, it's almost like one of them was really, you know, a bad pass on his fault, and then the other ones were just circumstantial. But four in the stat book when the dude barely threw any all year is just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to fucking explain that.
Yeah, but good for Houston. You know, they finished the year on such a bad little run, and then they came out. Defense looked great. Offense did what they needed to do, and they got it done. Man, put up 32 against the Chargers, who were one of the better. Well, I think they were the top scoring defense this season. So, you know, putting up 30 plus on a top defense like that's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, no, it really was. Like I was really impressed with how well they played in that game. It's just I should have known. Like I told you when I texted you, I my initial pick was Houston, and then I thought about it and I was like, I can't
Hmm.
can't pick them because of the simple fact that how they ended the season.
Yeah, what have you
And
done for me lately?
yeah, and but then I kind of talked about it like they had nothing to play for those last couple of weeks. So like
Yeah.
maybe it made a little sense.
What'd you think about Pittsburgh, Baltimore, man? I thought Pittsburgh shit the bed, man. I know that Baltimore was heavily favored and whatnot, but damn, man, I thought Pittsburgh would have found a way to play them tougher.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I mean, they were down 21 nothing at halftime.
Yeah, I that's another one where I told you like I almost fucking picked
Pitt,
Pittsburgh in
yeah.
that game, and then like I was like, no, I can't. Uh,
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, during that game, they were talking about how Pittsburgh all week was like preaching to the defense, you got to focus on stopping Derrick Henry. And fucking Derrick Henry had 100 yards before halftime. It's just like, well, shit, that didn't work.
See, I didn't know that fact. Um, I mean,
Yeah,
it makes
they were
sense.
trying to design it to make Lamar beat him, and Derrick Henry ran all over him anyhow, man.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because like that's who you want to beat him is Lamar. You want to make Lamar have to beat you. You don't
Yeah,
want Lamar
given
to
his
be
playoff
kind of the
history,
side
yeah,
piece. Exactly, and then like I mean, shit, like they just got boat raced. Like the first two games, the first 4 games of the weekend fucking blew.
yeah, they were unfortunate kind of
Like
playoff games,
I
not
mean, yeah,
super
the
exciting.
Chargers were up at one point during the game, but then
Yeah,
well, then I mean they chargered. Were they up like 6-0 or something? Couldn't
yeah, and
score
I was out
touchdowns.
with a guy that when they kicked those two field goals, the guy I was with was just like, "Oh, it's over. All it's going to
Hmm.
take is Houston to score once, and the momentum's going to flip on them." And that's exactly what happened, man. It was like, "Holy crap, dude!"
Yeah, and
Oh,
but like there are opportunities for fucking Chargers to take the momentum back
but
and
they couldn't
with
do
it,
it.
but they couldn't
Yeah.
like there's that the Houston had that horrendous fumble by Mixon.
Oh yeah, yeah. He had like so many touches without a fumble.
Hmm.
That was a shocker. All right, what'd you think about Denver and Buffalo, man? I mean, I thought Buffalo would beat them, but I was because of how good Denver's defense was, I was, I guess, a little bit sketchy about it, right? I thought, oh man, maybe Denver could be like the dark horse. and it just
Yeah,
ended up not happening. I mean, they came out of the gate great, and then they just collapsed.
with Denver Buffalo, like in that game, by the time like we got to that game, I was, I had the Chargers, and like on some stat I read, it's like on average on wild card weekend, 1.5 road teams win. And so, like, when you're looking at the schedule, like, Chargers, and then, like, by the time you get to that game, it's like, shit, no road teams won.
Yeah.
Is Denver going to pick off Buffalo in the game? Obviously, it's not what happened, and Denver kind of ended up not really performing much, but it started out really good because the touchdown was on like the opening drive, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, like this is gonna happen. And then, I mean, obviously Buffalo recouped and took it home, but man,
Oh yeah.
I'm like at this point we're still waiting for like a close competitive game.
I agree. And then you got Green Bay and Philly. That was one where I like Philly a lot. I've talked about how I think they're one of the more complete teams, and but I was still expecting Green Bay to give them a run for their money.
Hmm.
And I mean, Green Bay just looked, in my opinion, just like really like they couldn't even get it going. And I know Philly's got a great defense, right? But I don't know. I would have expected a LaFleur offense to find a way to at least get like 20 points or something.
Yeah, that same here, and like before this game, like I kind of oscillated on it and then trying to pick it because it's like Green Bay's playing so good, and then like I wasn't sure about Hurts' status. Like
Yep.
and then like I looked it up like right before I sent you the text, and it's like, oh well, Hurts is cleared concussion protocol. So then I wasn't really worried about it. I really this is of all the games, this game I did not think would be competitive.
Okay.
It's just I kind of assumed it, and like then it ultimately, I mean, I guess it was a little bit competitive, but I mean to only put up 10 points, like you got to do better than that.
Big time, dude. Big time. So then the next game was our first exciting one, I would say, which was
Hmm.
Washington at Tampa Bay. Um, you know, I don't know that there were, a ton of surprises there. Like you picked Washington, I picked Tampa Bay, but it was just a good game, and it could have gone either way, man. It was like a fight to the end.
Yeah, no, exactly, and like I this one I'd like we'll talk about confidence ratings and stuff, but like I was the least confident in this game. Like
Hmm.
like I when I went through it in my head, like, and I went through how the game could go, I really could have seen it going either way. Which I mean, obviously it ended up going in favor of Washington, but I mean, man, like talk about like heart dropping for fucking Tampa Bay, especially with how the field goal was made.
Yeah.
Fucking doink. And then like right after the game, like I like for the first time right after the game, I saw. Have you seen the NFL What If commercial
No.
where they see? So it's like they CGI'd like pivotal moments. Like
Okay.
what if what if Romo wasn't short? What if this happened? What if so? And then they CGI'd in it, and like how like games would have changed, and like
Yeah.
how playoffs and how it could change. And I was like, man, talk about like the perfect time for me to see that commercial.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, then, yeah, the last game we had the Vikings at the Rams, and this was one where,
At
uh,
SoFi at State Farm in
yeah, in Arizona. Yep.
Arizona. They moved it because of the fires, which made sense.
Yep.
Um, you know,
Yeah, and you took the Rams. I took the Vikings. Um, Man, I was a little worried about it, and then honestly, I felt better about it when they moved it to the other stadium. I thought that'd be a
mhm.
disadvantage for the Rams, but that was, I mean, Darnold. I mean, holy shit, they're talking about Darnold just like destroyed his
Yeah,
prospects for the offseason. I don't know. I still believe he's going to get a good deal somewhere, but there's some people that saying he went from getting a 30 plus million a year contract to a 15 million or less, like 1 or 2 year
hmm.
prove it deal.
So like a couple things. Like before we talk about the game, huge shout out to, and I forget his name, the owner of the Cardinals, and what they did.
Oh
They
yeah, yeah,
sent two private jets to LA to bring basically family members, pets, whatever from fucking
yeah,
LA to to Arizona. Like they, all the shit, like, bought the exact paint that the Rams use on their home field. Brought in the video guys from SoFi so they could load all the Rams in-game um, graphics so they could play that during the game. I mean, disadvantage to the Rams for the fact that, like, tickets were open, so Vikings fans had a
yeah,
bigger shot at getting tickets, but they did open them first to Rams season ticket holders before they opened it to the general public. So huge shout out there. Just wanted to start with that.
sure,
For the game, like, and I text you. It kind of for the Vikings, like the Vikings lost a total of 4 games this year. They lost, and including playoffs. They lost in week 7 to Detroit.
yeah,
The following week, they lost to the Rams at as the road team. Fast forward to week 18, they lost in week 18 to the Lions, and then the following week they lost to the Rams. Like, I mean, it's it sucks, but like those are the two teams that beat you. That's still pretty damn good season.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but I mean, this Darnold, I think the Lions kind of showed how to defend Darnold. Like the Lions figured it out in Week 18 against Darnold, and I mean, the Rams sacked him like 9 times or 10 times in that game, and that's how you play against Darnold. I don't know why other teams couldn't figure that out. Um, couldn't figure that out during the season.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I mean, that's all I had on the games, what kind of surprised me and whatnot. Um, Looking at some of the news over the past, week plus, I thought it'd be good we just start talking about the state of the coaching affairs, which is, we had what, two, four, six, 7 openings after McCarthy was finally released out of Dallas, or let his contract expire. We're down to 6 now because New England has hired Mike Vrabel to come in. And, you and I kind of talked about it offline that, I thought Gerard Mayo got a little bit of a hose job there because that team was in a full blown rebuild and they had a rookie quarterback with one of the worst offensive lines in the league, no weapons at wide receiver. And, to me, it's you got to give that guy at least a second year to see if they can bring in some talent and start to gel and show progress. But I'm looking at them as it's a 3+ year turnaround now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not, this was the first year, but um, I just think that was a little too cutthroat by Kraft. And I do like Vrabel. He is also a former linebacker from the Patriots, just like Gerard Mayo was. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but we know him and are familiar with him from being the head coach of the Titans, and we always felt like he outperformed that talent level And so maybe he'll be able to come in and, give these guys a little bit of juice and get them on track in the rebuild going into next year.
Yeah, hopefully. And like I think I forget where I had read it, but the the actual catalyst for firing Mayo appears to have been Vrabel interviewing for the Jets position. Everything.
Yeah, put a little pressure on Kraft to make a decision, huh?
Yeah, and so it's just what I'm reading, and like I think it was smart by Vrabel, but like the thing with them is like this is an example of why you don't put, oh, he's in his contract that when so and so retires,
Yeah, this
you'll
becomes
be
the guy.
this becomes the guy, because you don't fucking know what's gonna happen. You
Yeah,
don't, and like Kraft Vrabel probably was the person that Kraft wanted anyways, but he was contractually obligated to hire Mayo as the head coach, which I mean blows, but that's you
it's a
got to make some.
strange thing to do, but
Yeah,
I get it. That was like their way of keeping their claws in him and not losing him maybe a year or two before, when Belichick was still there. But and we'll put a pin in some of the head coaching stuff because I do want to come back to it in question of the week. Normally, this time of year, we're talking about what we think are the most attractive openings and why and all that. And so, not to spill the beans, but we'll do that at the end of the show.
all right.
So, other than that, news wise, man, I don't know. What are you seeing? What do you want to hit on? We don't have to go crazy because we still obviously got a bunch of stuff to tap into tonight. But what's sticking out for you, bud?
So this week, in fact, earlier today, this morning, early this morning for me, the NFL announced that the Colts will be the home team in next season's next season's game in Berlin.
Yep,
So
Deutschland.
yeah, so Colts trying to see, they haven't announced it. They also said the Jets and the Cleveland Browns are going to play home games at Tottenham Hotspur's Stadium in London, and Jacksonville will play their regularly scheduled home game at Wembley Stadium.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was announced earlier today, which I think is cool. For the Colts, like they in theory should have an up and coming running back, or not running back, quarterback, and they have Jonathan Taylor, who's should be back in stride, but we'll see. The city of Cleveland is suing the Cleveland Browns
Okay.
because apparently they announced plans to build a stadium in
The suburbs.
the suburbs, and it's the Modell Law, and it's state law in Ohio that says any professional sports owner who uses a tax-supported facility for its home games and gets funding from the state or a political subdivision can't leave unless it gets permission to play elsewhere or gives 6 months notice.
Well, I mean, they can't leave until it's built, right? So they could
Yeah,
hypothetically give 6 month notice, a year from now when it's built.
I'm trying to see. Um, so they're seeking clarification on the Modell Law. So apparently it's state law, and the state law was enacted when the Browns left to go to Baltimore.
Okay.
And and they've used it before to keep the MLS team, the Columbus Crew, in Columbus.
Gotcha.
Oh, the the lawsuit is saying that the law says that it provides that if a team takes taxpayer money and plays in tax-supported facilities, then the owner must either obtain the city's authorization or give the city and others the opportunity to purchase the team before
Oh,
moving the team away from the facility.
yeah, that's a big part of it, right? Because you would think, maybe some big time billionaire dudes or PE groups or whatever come in and say, no, fuck that. This is our chance to buy it and keep it here.
Yeah, and so apparently that's where they're trying to get the Browns is by saying, well, you didn't give us the opportunity.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that shakes out in time. In terms of some of the other stuff, I don't know, anything else sticking out or, I just, I see a lot of puffy kind of stuff about, oh, what's going to happen with Tomlin and, you know, Baker Mayfield, the loss is going to sit on him for a while and, stuff like that. But I don't think we need to really like dig into each one of those kinds of pieces because there's nothing really tangible with any of them right now.
Yeah, like I mean, those are kind of
Yeah, this is what happens when you lose. People get
yeah.
fired and people get traded and shit happens, man.
I don't think there's.
That's all she wrote.
Yeah, I think that's about all she
Okay.
wrote on it.
Well, my man, why don't we do a little
Oh, wait! I just remember something.
oh, okay.
Chargers, and I think it's kind of bullshit. And I haven't seen what if the league had made a decision on it, but the Chargers fans are calling for El Shahir
Hmm.
to be suspended again because as like the running back or wide receiver, I forget who it was going down. Like he went to kind of like punch at the ball, was what it looked like to me, but ended up punching the guy straight in the helmet.
Hmm. Okay.
And they're calling it, oh, it's a dirty play, blah 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 blah, wah 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 wah,
Well,
wah,
let the
we
league
lost.
review it. They can decide.
Yeah, but it's it's like why is everybody crying about all this?
It's a tough sport.
Yeah, it's a tough sport. Like I didn't see this till just now. You remember how earlier in the season, the Ravens waived Deontay Johnson?
Yes.
So Deontay Johnson was claimed by
Oh
by the
yeah.
Texans. The Texans waived him this week, and Deontay Johnson was then subsequently claimed on waivers by the Ravens. Now he can't play for the team until February 10th because postseason rosters were locked on like January 6th. But by claiming him, if he leaves in free agency after the season,
They'll get a
the
comp pick.
Ravens can get a compensatory pick depending on the contract he signs.
Wow, dude, the Ravens are so good at getting the comp picks, man.
Yeah, it's like, I mean,
They have gamed that system.
yeah, like fucking kudos to you for figuring this shit out. I just, I think it's hilarious. Like let's waive a guy, let him go somewhere else,
Yeah.
let them waive him, and then
Oh, hey, let's get
it's
him back because we can get something out of him.
yeah,
Yeah. No, that's just a savvy fucking GM right there.
yeah. And then also the last little bit that I just saw after is Jim Harbaugh is going to have two surgeries this offseason.
Okay.
He's going to have a hip replacement and he's going to have, I don't know what the fuck it is, a cardiac ablation. Is that where? I think I know what that
Something
is.
for
That's
the
where,
heart.
yeah. So like they put electrodes on the heart. If it's what I think it is, like they put electrodes on the heart, um, and shock it because what happens when you
If
get
he
old
has
in
like
your heart,
AFib or something.
it's not that he has AFib, but like eventually some of your heart cells um, aren't beating at the same time.
Oh, yeah. So
So you
just
shock it
jolts him to
to,
get him back in line.
yeah, if that's what I think it is. There is a procedure that uses radio frequency energy or other source to terminate or modify a faulty electrical pathway from sections of the heart of those who are prone to AFib, arrhythmia, flutter. Yeah, so that's what it
Okay.
is.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it's good. It's good. He's getting it done. Hopefully for him, everything goes well.
Yeah.
But
Get it squared away, Jimmy.
yeah, get it squared away.
They need you back next year, Jim boy.
All right, I promise that's the last thing.
All right. All right. Well, yeah, then let's pull up our spreadsheet from the regular season picks and just do a quick recap on that, James, just so everybody understands where we finished. That's all we're gonna do. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Just a real quick, how did we end up?
So I'm just gonna say this: my picks were a ton better than yours. Um, just saying,
Okay, a ton better than mine.
a
Okay,
ton better, a ton.
sure.
All right. So, anyways, you want to start with the AFC
Oh,
North? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say for the game picks. So,
Oh, game
so
picks. Sorry,
yeah.
my bad,
So
my bad.
just real quick with the game picks.
I was talking about the preseason picks.
Oh
So
yeah,
the
no, no, no.
game
For
picks.
for the game picks, all right. We'll just quick and dirty. I won the regular season, fifth year in a row. The lack of a model didn't matter. I hit 70.22% with the hits. You finished at 63%. And, obviously the last couple weeks there, you started kind of throwing a little bit of a Hail Mary because you were falling behind. Still, both of us had a really good year. By any standard, 63% is pretty good compared to past years. Um, but 70 plus percent was awesome. I was excited to get there. I was nervous with week 18 because so many of those games are very unpredictable that I thought that
Hmm.
was going to sink me under the 70%. But happy as heck to get there. And, so one bet is in the books. We got another one coming up that we'll talk about. But before we do, yeah, let's go down memory lane and take a look at our preseason record predictions and just take a quick peek on how those fared.
All right. So you want to just do? You want to hit the way too early first, then the.
I was just going to do the preseason outlook.
All right. Cool.
If we do the super early on top of it, it gets kind of crazy. But if there's anything from the super early that you want to hit on, we can do that too. I just thought it'd be okay. Hey, after everything of the off season happened and we made our final picks right before the season, here's what they were, and now at the end of the season, here's where everybody finished. What were we close on? What were we crazy on? And, obviously people get hurt, people get traded, you know, uh, some teams just fucking blow up unexpectedly or sink unexpectedly. And it's very unpredictable, but we try to get as close as we can with the information we have at the time, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, I guess if we start with the AFC East, my
All right.
man.
So in the AFC East, you had the Jets winning the division at 12-5.
Yes, that was an error.
Then you had Buffalo and Miami both at 10-7, and New England at 3-14. Hey, you're pretty close on New England. And that's about it.
Wow.
I didn't.
You just want to take a J. You're just mad because of the picks, but okay, okay.
Okay, I didn't fare that much better. I think I was only one team closer than you on it. I had Miami also winning the division, but at 11-6.
Okay.
Then I had the Jets and Buffalo tied at 9-8. Well, actually, my eyes lined up wrong, and I was not one off. We had the same dismal performance. I was just slightly closer on
On the games.
on the Jets on the games.
Okay.
And then I had New England at 3-14.
Gotcha.
New England was kind of a gimme coming into the year. You knew they didn't have
Rookie quarterback, lack of talent, new head coach, lots of changes. Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Yeah, so Buffalo ended up taking it at 13-4. The Dolphins were at 8-9, Jets at 5-12, and the Patriots at 4-13. So, yeah, we kind of scrambled this one up pretty good. I think the Aaron Rodgers experience is one of the things that threw a pretty big loop in it, to be honest.
mhm.
Not many people were expecting them to just suck ass like that, but now we know. Older quarterback coming back from an Achilles injury, yeah, it's probably going to be pretty ugly.
Yeah, but it also, like, I was pessimistic and I wanted to see Rodgers do it. I just didn't think the Jets were that bad. Like, I thought they could be a 9-8 team
Yeah.
with like a 20% Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because they were winning games with fucking dudes like Zach Wilson, man.
Yeah, so
It was an abomination.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, he was a negative for that team. It took away from them being able to run the ball well with Brees Hall. Uh, you know, especially after they made the Devontae Adams trade, it put an emphasis on trying to force the ball to him. I mean, just the whole thing was like a dysfunctional nightmare. They swapped out their offensive coordinator. He had like his first game he came in, the new guy looked a little good, and then it just kind of fell apart again. And I think to me that you know, from the outside looking in, I think Aaron Rodgers, had his hand too far into that, and they needed to have a real offensive coordinator with autonomy, calling the plays in the offense despite the quarterback, and making a change at quarterback will be good for them.
Yeah, exactly. And we still don't know what's necessarily going on with the Jets.
Yeah, but he'll get bounced. Come on, man. There's no way
Yeah,
they're bringing him back.
there's no way they're bringing him back. Exactly. I don't foresee that happening at all.
All right, man. So how about we take a look at the AFC North?
All right. So in the AFC North, you had. I'm going to take your order as what the actual order you were saying it would be
Sure.
in. You
Yeah.
had Cincinnati winning it at 11-6, but they were tied with Cleveland, who was also at 11-6. You had Pittsburgh at 10-7. Kudos to you. You got Pittsburgh spot on.
Yeah.
Then you had Baltimore at 9-8. I also had Cincinnati winning the division at 12-5. I don't know what the fuck we were thinking. Then I had Cleveland at 8-9. Okay, so I was a little closer to Cleveland's record than you, but not well. Hey, I was spot on too with Pittsburgh at 10-7.
Yes.
And then I was close on Baltimore. I was one game off. I had Baltimore at 11-6.
Okay. So yep, you did well there compared to me. Um, we still both could have done better. I think the way that Cincinnati just starts so slow every year makes it
Mm-hmm.
so unpredictable. And I mean, I'm looking at my heat map right now. I had them winning 5 out of their first 6 in my heat map. And I mean, they came out and just sucked a fat one. And then they just, even though they got hot towards the end of the season, it wasn't enough to come back and catch up. I mean, their defense totally let that team down the whole year, man. So that was a
Yeah.
bummer. And then obviously Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, we thought, holy cow, with Watson and Flacco last year, it was good enough to get to the playoffs. And then, this year with Watson and whoever else they had, Dorian Thompson Robinson and whatever, um, man, it was a disaster.
Yeah. Like Cleveland, I was pessimistic on them. I thought that defense was. I thought the defense would win them some games. I think the
Yeah.
defense did win them some games, but I didn't know how. I didn't really think Watson was going to be that much of a handicap for them.
I agree, dude. It was like just as nasty as Aaron Rodgers for the Jets, man.
Mm-hmm.
A team with a great defense and a lot of talent just wasted because of the quarterback.
Yeah, no, 100% there.
All right, so then we go to the AFC South.
So we both had the same order of teams. We had Houston. You had them at 11-6. I had them spot on at 10-7. Then Jacksonville. Both of us had Jacksonville at 8-9, 4-13. Yeah. Then we had Tennessee. I had Tennessee at 7-10. You had them at 5-12. You were a lot closer. And then Indy, I had at 7-10, which you had them at 3-14.
Yes.
So I was closer there. So we kind of split the puppy on this one, on this division. Going in, I thought Jacksonville had talent. I didn't think they were going to win the division. Obviously, Houston, I thought was we both thought was the class of the division. I didn't think Jacksonville was going to suck as bad as they did. Tennessee,
another team tanked by their quarterback, man. Trevor Lawrence, he is not living up to that freaking draft billing, dude. He is.
No.
I thought the team, in all year, it's more than him. I think there's some prima donnas on that team that are just playing for themselves and they're not playing as a team. But it seemed to me like the team started to show signs of life when they handed it off to Mac Jones. And it was just too late and nobody cared at that point. But, it looked like there was some life. It just was not at all while Trevor Lawrence was at quarterback.
No, not at all. The AFC South is a hard division to predict. Like I think like getting as close as we were, like me being spot on, you being one game off, with Houston, and you getting one game off with.
I think I was 2 off on
two
Tennessee.
games off on Tennessee, and I was way overestimated. I way overestimated the division. You were more pessimistic on it. I think it's a hard division. I mean, the AFC South, both these year after year, and I think my thing with Tennessee was I was remembering the Vrabel getting more out of your players. I thought Canales had a shot at turning around Levis. It did seem like he did towards the end of the year. It was too late to do anything.
Yeah, and I think the positive note for Tennessee is that their defense was amazing all year. And so they have stuff to build on, right? And Tony Pollard looked really good in that offense. It's like,
except for he ended the season injured.
okay.
I
But
think
yeah,
he had
so I
like
mean,
a decently serious injury.
okay, but yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is I think they have potential, right? And it looked like the offensive line was getting better. They've drafted guys in the last couple drafts. It looked like as the year was going on, things were coming together. They got to get the right quarterback, and whether or not Calvin Ridley stays, they might have to go out and get another wide receiver.
Yeah, and so for Pollard, I remembered incorrectly. He wasn't injured. Maybe he missed a game or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we have the AFC West. You kicked my butt
Oh
on the
boy.
AFC West. So
Well,
we both had Kansas City as the class of the division at 13-4. Then we both had the Chargers in second place. You had the Chargers at 12-5. I mean, one game off. I had them at 9-8, 2 games off.
that's pretty close.
Thank you, sweetie. Then we both were down on Denver. You were a little bit higher on them than I was. I had them at 3-14. You had them at 5-12. And then both of us had Vegas at 5-12. I mean, we were right. We sniffed
Yeah,
out
I
what
wouldn't
Vegas
say I
was.
kicked your butt on this one, man. We were pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close, but I mean, like you were a game closer to me on the Chargers. Like glancing at it, it doesn't, and saying it out loud doesn't have the same effect as reading it.
I got you. All
But I
right.
mean,
So yeah, off to the well, yeah. Yeah. Bummer for Antonio Pierce with the Raiders, right?
yeah,
I kind of thought it was going to be a train wreck, and the dude's out. Um, he just didn't have a quarterback, man, and then obviously they traded Devontae Adams. It just was like, I don't know, dude. I don't think they really ever properly set him up to succeed, and it
yeah,
was it was unfortunate. But he's got time. He's very young. I'm sure he'll latch on maybe as a defensive coordinator again somewhere, and give him a few years. He'll be back in the talks.
yeah. He'll be back in the talks. Like he's just wasn't ready. Like there's a difference between being the interim coach and
Yeah,
being the actual head coach. And I mean, what can you do?
yeah. And then Denver, holy cow, with freaking not only Bo Nix, just rookie year, perfect fit for Sean Payton's offense.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow Denver's defense turns out to be like one of the top defenses in the league this year. Like, where the fuck did that come from?
I don't know. Like it felt to me, and the reason why I was so down on Denver is it felt to me like anybody with any talent they were getting rid of
Yeah,
because they were in salary cap hell because
yeah.
they had to move on from Russ, and I didn't think they had a hope in the world to have the season they did, and good for them.
All right, on to
Uh,
the NFC East.
so the NFC East. You had Dallas winning the division at 13-4. I had Philly winning the division at 13-4. I was a game off. You had Philly at 11-6. I had Dallas at 12-5. We both were way the fuck off on
Yeah,
Dallas.
Dak
Like,
going down hurt, but
yeah,
they were
Dak going
struggling
down.
even when he was playing. So
Yeah, and one thing I'm reading with Dallas, and I know you wanted to put a pin in head coaches is I'm reading that Belichick is, first of all, number one, Belichick is pissed because he back channeled to Jerry Jones to see if the Dallas job was going to be open because he would have been interested in it. And
okay,
there's apparently a mutual friendship interest there. And Jerry said no. And the second, on the flip side, fucking asshole Jerry Jones. Like you're getting rid of the coach. Let the dude interview a week earlier. Give him a chance to latch on
Chicago.
someone.
Yeah,
Don't have a team request an interview and say, nope, you can't do it.
yeah, that was a dick move. He could have been more decisive about his plans. I think he had players at his ear saying, "Hey, man, bring him back," and it probably just slowed him down a little bit. And then at the end of the day, he just said, "No, we're not going to do it."
Yeah, and then you had Washington at 6-11. I had Washington at 2-15. Like I told you going into the draft, like I thought Jaden Daniels was the real deal, but I didn't think
Nobody expected this, right?
he was gonna have the season he did. And then you had the Giants at 4-13, only one game off, where I had them at 7-10. I gave them too much credit.
Yeah, and going back to Washington, that's one of the good stories that you like to talk about, right? Is
Hmm.
that you got a genuine high character guy in Jaden Daniels right out of the gate having tremendous success. And so it's like, oh yeah, hey, we muffed the punt on the game picks or whatever, but super happy and super exciting to see that because he made football a lot more fun for us this year, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And then the Giants, you knew I was down on them.
yeah.
I was not a Daniel Jones believer, and I'm surprised they're bringing back Dable. I'm glad they are because I like Dable, but um, man, I don't know. He's gonna have to like really overhaul in some kind of a way here and come out of the gate with success, or he could be a midseason firing next year. It's to me he's stayed past his welcome now, and
Hmm.
they got to have something spark a reason for him to be staying another year. I don't know. So
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought they would get rid of at least one of the two. I thought they were going to really get rid of both Shane and Dable, but they kept him
yeah,
for another year. That they must see something. Say I don't know. Maybe getting him a quarterback.
I mean the Brian Burns acquisition from Carolina,
Mhm.
that proved to
That's
like
true.
be great for the defense. I mean, at one point they were leading the league in sacks, and so I think there's hope on the defense. Obviously, they nailed it with Neighbors at wide receiver. Um, And then what's the guy Tracy, whatever the running back?
Oh
He
yeah.
looks like he could be pretty legit.
I
But
think his last name's Tyrone Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy. But yeah,
I
they got
think.
to get a quarterback, man. And Daniel Jones was not the guy, which is why they ended up ultimately cutting ties with him. So
Yeah. Uh, so we'll skip the NFC North and go to the NFC South, and we'll
sure.
come back to the NFC North. I don't know what the fuck I was smoking when I did my picks. So you had New Orleans, Tampa Bay, both at 9-8, 10-7 for Tampa Bay, 5-12 for New Orleans. Um, you had Atlanta at 7-10, you're a game off, and you had Carolina at 5-12, spot on. I had New Orleans at 8-9. I was a little bit closer, but just a little bit. I mean, nothing to write home with. I was 2 games off with Tampa Bay. Um, I had them at 8-9. I had Atlanta at 3-14. I didn't with Atlanta. I was so down on them going into this year with what they did to Cousins, and
Yeah.
I mean, it turns out that it probably was the right move, and that's what gave them at least a modicum of hope to make the playoffs. And then, yeah, on to the NFC West.
Oh, you don't want to cover the final team there, James? Uh,
Yeah, I had Carolina at 10-7, and
hey,
I can't.
yeah, you were swinging
I
for the fences, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Yeah,
I
I think you staged this little distraction here so that you could avoid talking about the Panthers. Um,
I can't talk about them because I'm not going to curse in front of the child. So
yeah, yeah. Well, hey, no, look, I mean, you were hoping for a big jump with Bryce Young from year one to year two, and I think um,
Looking for this. I just found it.
yeah, I thought Bryce Young year two with wait, this is Canales. Who? No, Canales is Tennessee. Who's the coach?
oh,
Not Callahan.
what's his face? I can see his face. I'm just drawing a blank on his name. No, Canales. Yeah, Yeah,
So I was right.
Tennessee is
So Callahan.
yeah.
So I had them flipped. Um, I don't know what the fuck I was smoking, thinking Carolina was going to have this good year. Like, yeah, he got the best out of Baker. Yeah, he got the best out of Geno Smith. Like, good for him. But eventually, when you're taking these quarterbacks that are middle of the road and elevating them, you're gonna swing and miss. And
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, right, is that he basically aborted Bryce Young in the first
Mhm.
quarter of the season, went to Andy Dalton, aborted him, and then
well,
went
he
back to
but he
Bryce Young.
but he aborted Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton got hurt in a car accident.
Oh yeah, no, I thought it was yeah, and either way, Bryce Young eventually came back and started to show some signs of life, but it was kind of too little, too late. And so there was nothing wrong with taking the chance there, I don't think. But and then obviously with New Orleans, it's worth pointing out Derek Carr went down,
Yeah.
and that obviously like drastically altered their season, which was weird, right? Because they came out of the gate as the top scoring team in the first couple weeks, and then they just
But
dissipated in a major way.
but they bottomed out before Carr got injured.
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean is like,
I mean,
it
maybe
was a fluke kind of thing, and then he got hurt, and it just didn't even matter.
yeah. I mean, maybe
Well,
Carr could
Taysom
have
Hill
righted the
got hurt
ship.
too early, but yeah,
Carr could have righted the ship. Yeah, I hear you. I
yeah, and so maybe they could have gotten a couple more, but it's still, I think Dennis Allen, he was one we talked about last year, probably should have been gone. So, all right, NFC West, my man.
All right, so we both were way off on San Francisco this year. Who would have known the injuries would catch up to them? You had them at 14-3. I had them at 13-4. Then the Rams, you had them 2 games off at 8-9. I had them right on at 10-7.
Nice.
Seattle, you were 2 games off. I was
You were
3.
okay.
You had
Yeah,
them at
still
eight and
pretty close.
nine.
Yeah.
I had them at 7-10. Arizona, I was a game off. You were 3. I just like as much as I talk about how I hate or how I don't think Kyler Murray's a good quarterback, he does a lot of phenomenal things in the league. It's just not consistent.
Correct. Yeah, he's boom or bust any given week.
Yeah. So like I gave him credit for being more boom than bust. Um, but hey, shows what shows what we know. And I would also like to point out that before we go to the East, I wanted to point out that you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In the AFC, you had 10 wins as the minimum threshold to make the playoffs, which ended up being right on.
Okay.
I had
Yeah, and while you're adding that up, I mean, obviously for the West, San Francisco having such an injury plagued down year totally flipped that division. And um, I thought that they were a deep enough roster that they could handle some of the injuries, but McCaffrey being out the way he was, uh, you know, um, what's his face at Ayuk at wide receiver being out the way he was, Trent Williams at left tackle being out the way he was. I mean, man, there were so many of them, and there were so many big ones. And then, and now at the end of the year, Brock Purdy with another elbow injury. There's a lot of people speculating that they might make a run at Kirk Cousins now and abort Brock Purdy because they don't want to keep playing this game with his elbow, man. And so,
yeah.
the 49ers situation is going to be dicey now going into next year, which is kind of weird because they're still one of the most stacked rosters in the NFL, but they were snake bitten in a major way. And man, that can be hard to bounce back from, to be honest.
Yeah, so and I had 11 wins as a minimum to make the playoffs. You got for the AFC, you got 1, 2, two teams wrong and of your field, different order, but not
Sure.
different seeded. You got two. You were two that you had making the playoffs that didn't make the playoffs, as well as me.
Gotcha. Good to know.
All right. So we'll go to the North, the NFC North.
Yes.
So we both had the Lions winning a franchise record number of games.
That's right, we did.
You had them at 13. I had them at 14. And it's splitting hairs. They got to 15. If you look at our heat maps, we had them winning games that they lost and losing games that they won. So, whatever.
Yeah, they kicked ass. That's all that matters.
You had Green Bay at 9-8. I had them at 10-7. I was one game off. You were two games off. They finished 11-6. We're right around there for Green Bay. We had them pretty much pegged for the season. Then you had Chicago at 8-9. I had them at 5-12.
Oh, you hit that one, didn't you?
And then we both missed on fucking Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
I had them at 4-13. You had them at 6-11. So you were a little higher on them than me. But
which was a big boost from the super early. I was telling you before the show, I had him at 1-16 in the super early, man. So, it was hard to predict, right? You had Darnold coming in at quarterback. It was either Darnold or McCarthy. McCarthy got hurt in preseason, and then it's all those new guys on the defense looked like, ooh man, it looked like it was going to be a disaster, but holy shit, they gelled instantly, and Darnold had a fucking just beyond career year for them.
Yeah, and I mean up until the end of the year, he had a career year. The last two games, the Week 18 and then the Wild Card Weekend, which I looked it up and they just call it Wild Card Weekend, not Super Wild Card Weekend. Okay. During Wild Card Weekend, he reverted back to a pumpkin, which we talked about during the year. Yeah. That it was a possibility that he would revert back to a pumpkin, and he did. We both missed two teams. Again, we had wait a minute. This must be my super way too early.
Okay.
That I opened for the teams I had making the playoffs. So it's the other one. Because I had Minnesota. Yeah, this is obviously way too. So we both had San Francisco, and we both had Dallas making the playoffs, which obviously they didn't do. We didn't see Washington or Minnesota coming on that. You had.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, I was just going back to the super early. You had Minnesota super early at 10-7, dude.
Yeah,
and then you just lost confidence.
Yeah, so and I know exactly what happened. I had them at 10-7 with JJ McCarthy.
Okay.
And then JJ McCarthy got hurt, and that's when I lost the confidence with them. I didn't have confidence in Sam Darnold at all.
I got you.
When JJ McCarthy, I remember talking about that and talking about when JJ McCarthy got hurt, that was it. Minnesota's season was done.
Okay.
And I mean, even like mid-season, like you want to talk about like the Rams in Minnesota, like mid-season when the Rams were shit in the bed, there was talk about how Minnesota should trade for Stafford.
Yep.
And Minnesota was winning still at that time.
Yeah, so they didn't even have confidence in him.
Yeah. So you had Dallas, Philadelphia, Detroit, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, the Rams, and I had the same, except for I didn't have. So I missed 3.
Okay.
I missed 3. You missed 2 because
Okay.
I had Carolina.
It's all good, my man. You know, it's fun taking the stroll down memory lane. Um, all right, well, now we're in the thick of it with playoffs, and we're renewing our playoff bet, correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
it's same as regular season bet. $100 bottle of whiskey to the winner.
Okay. Do you want to explain how we do the playoff picks and the confidence interval or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. So we have during the playoffs, because obviously at some point we're going to be picking like I think this
Just a couple teams and then,
just a couple
and then
teams.
one team.
Yeah. So it's like so we assign a point scale to it, and so wildcard weekend there's 6 games, so 6 through 1. 6 is your most confident win. 1 is your least confident win. Then in the divisional round, it's 6-3, where 6 is the most confident game, 3 is the least confident game, and then 6 and 5 for the divisional, and then obviously you get 6 for the
Super
the
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. And you've come out of the gate here with a nice little lead. So,
Yeah,
through just through wild card weekend, it's not super anymore.
yeah. So and that was pretty much up until last year, the first few years I won, you won the regular season, I won the playoffs.
Yep.
I think like
And
up
then
until last year, like I think I got like 1 game wrong each year in the playoffs or something ridiculous like that.
yeah, and then I swept you.
Yeah. So out of the gate, we talked about it. We both were on the Chargers. I talked about how ultimately I had the Chargers as the 5, and this was more strategical for me to assign the 5 to them because you assigned the 5 to the Chargers winning. I didn't do that for all the picks, but I was not confident in it. But when I went through it, like, I was most confident initially that Buffalo was going to win. Green Bay. I was
Yeah.
unsure about the Minnesota game, and I told you, like, when my initial gut reaction to the Pittsburgh game was Pittsburgh was going to win the game because of the fact that it's so hard to beat the same team 3 times in the season.
Yep. Yeah, and
So
I tried to use my power rankings to sort of help me uh, decide with my confidence factor, but it ended up not being as like good of a methodology as I wanted to use, and so
mhm.
you still kind of have to like just qualify it in your brain and say, okay, well, this is where I feel more comfortable than that, um, and it was tough, man. It was tough, but I also I also thought a lot of these games were going to be a lot better than they were.
Yeah.
So
So you ended up losing Tampa Bay and Minnesota, which was your 3 and 4, and we both lost our 5. So that gave me, with 16 of the possible 21 points, you got 9 of the possible 21 points for wild card weekend.
correct, Mundo, which is a pretty big hole considering there's now only 4 games this week.
Yes. And this week there's what was that, 18 possible points?
11 and 7. Yep. Yep.
So I mean, you have a little bit of a hole. We don't have. Well, we'll talk about it. First game up, which I don't know. I'm first. So for wildcard weekend, I don't know if I like how the league did the schedule with the AFC then the NFC.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah,
I
that
do
did
like the
seem kind of strange, right?
I do like the fact that the Minnesota game was the last game of the regular season, so it
Give
was
them a little more time.
give a little bit more time, because I mean there's not that much of difference between Sunday night and Sunday at like 4 p.m. Eastern versus Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. There's not that much of a difference, but give them a little bit of time. But they were also on the road, and then they were going on the road. So, but either way, like the schedule was announced at like halftime that, or even earlier than that, that when the games were going to be played, because the loser of the Detroit Minnesota game was obviously going to play at the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the fact that I would like to see the number one seeds play on separate days.
Gotcha.
Talking about this weekend. So I would like to see Detroit play on, say, hypothetically, Kansas City was playing on Saturday, so Detroit plays on Sunday.
Yeah, it's almost like make each of those like the more prime time of the games, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I do like the fact that it kind of gives a little bit of an advantage to the number one seed.
Yeah, because they're getting the extra day hypothetically if they get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also, I don't know why the league likes to play Houston on Saturday during the playoffs. which on a side note, there was a theoretical world where in conference championship week, the Rams and the Chargers would be playing at home 15 minutes apart from each other.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
I just find that crazy to even think about. Like, what the fuck would the league do?
I mean, the stadium would be wrecked.
Yeah. And like, so like you have one end zone Rams, you have the Chargers logo and the
raw dogging
Rams
you,
logo,
SoFi.
and then what do you do? Just sell the tickets as a package deal? Because like,
who's gonna get the sloppy seconds?
Yeah. But that obviously not gonna happen because the Chargers got knocked out. But there was a theoretical world where that could have happened
next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, hypothetically, that could happen with the New York teams too if they got their shit together.
If they got their shit together, it could happen with them hypothetically.
All right.
I think honestly, like the league would have to do something like put an hour between the games or 2 hours between the games, because you have to turn over the stadium, kind of clean it up, kick
everybody out,
get everybody out, get the new people in.
Yeah, people are gonna be hiding in the bathrooms because they're like, I want to watch both these games.
Yeah, and then also 15 minutes, really, is that enough time for some of these NFL players to get the feel of the stadium and stuff like that?
What about food and all that? Are you stocked up to handle 2 games? Like holy shit.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting mental exercise to think about, but like I said, it probably will never happen with the Jets and the Giants in our lifetime. It could happen with the Chargers and the Rams, because the Rams are staying relevant and the Chargers are becoming relevant. And but I digress. First game we have this weekend is Houston at the Chiefs. Like I said, I hate the fact that Houston's playing on Saturday again. It's like, oh, Houston's still in the playoffs, they're going to play on Saturday. Fuck. If they make it to the championship game, let's put them on Saturday. They only play on Saturday during the playoffs. Houston has no fucking shot in this game. No shot. I'm not going to say no shot, because Houston, if they play like they did this past week, they do have a shot. And a couple of years ago, when Houston went into Kansas City in a similar situation with Mahomes at quarterback for Kansas City, Houston was boat racing Kansas City, and then Mahomes flipped the switch and Kansas City won. I want to say that Kansas City was down by 15, 20 points in that game.
Yeah, I do worry with Kansas City having this much rest. Maybe they start off a little bit rusty. But I also think they're the healthiest they've been all year, right? And they got Hollywood Brown back. They got Pacheco back towards the end of the season. He's now really healthy again. Mahomes, Kelsey, and the defense was one of the top defenses in the league this year. It's just, you can't go against Kansas City, man.
Yeah,
So,
so they played in the playoffs in 2020. Ooh, ooh, 51 to 31.
okay.
And that was 2020. And then in 2016, they played in the playoffs, and Kansas City won 30 to nothing.
Gotcha.
And I wanted to look up the box score for the 51 to 31 because yeah, that's exactly how I remembered it. Houston was up 24 to nothing in that game.
Shit, man. Wow. And then
It's
Mahomey
exactly
Magic.
how I remembered. Exactly how I remembered it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I could see Mahomes coming out a little slow because of the
Yeah.
amount of time they've had off, and he's just been slow this whole year anyhow, right? But it is Mahomes, it is Andy Reid, it is top defense with Spagnuolo, and you know, I don't know, man. As much as I like Houston and think it's a good story, I am still just not happy with the way they finished out the year. And I know you're
Hmm.
saying some of those games didn't matter, but you know, I think the Chargers gave away last week's game. I don't think that Houston won that game.
And I could understand that perspective on it. Um, so wow, I always forget about that game. They played in mm, week they played in week 16 and Kansas City won 27 to 19.
Okay.
Um, I think this was after. Okay, so I was and it was after Tank Dell was back.
Gotcha.
And Mixon played in that game. I don't foresee the game going much differently than that. Some predictions are showing it closer. Like I've seen, but I mean about an 8-9 point win for Kansas City. I honestly could see that. I do have concerns with Kansas City basically throwing their jockstrap on the field against Denver the last game of the regular season
Yeah.
and ruining the integrity of the playoffs by not even trying. And I think
Yeah.
that like not even showing up for the fucking game. But and I do have concerns about the fact that Mahomes hasn't really tested the ankle from when he got hurt. When he got hurt, what was it Christmas? He got hurt. Oh no, I guess he did, but he's basically been sitting out for 21 days.
Yeah. Long time.
I do have concerns, so I could see a similar situation where Houston starts out up and Kansas City then gets their
They
legs
got to
moving
rally. Yeah.
and they rally, but I still say Kansas City's going to win, and I think it's a 5. The only reason it's a 5 is because I have some trepidation on Kansas City being laid off for so long.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the only reason it's 5 is because I'm taking somebody else as a 6. but
Well, yeah, that one too.
but
But
yeah, I mean, you know, when you look at the NFL.com stats, Houston's defense finished 6 overall. Okay, Kansas City's ninth. I think that you know, sort of like the wild card for this game could be the Houston defensive line with Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter. Those guys have been phenomenal at getting pressure on quarterbacks this year. If they can find a way to do that and get to Mahomes and rattle him, that could change things. But the thing is, Mahomes hasn't been Mahomes all year, and they've still found ways to win. So I'm
mhm.
not going to like hang my hat on that for Houston and say that that's going to give them the game. You know, And then offensively, Houston finished 22nd and Kansas City finished 16th. That's weird because, we looked at how bad Kansas City was this year, and they're still that much better than Houston, which makes me just, I don't know. I can't get on board with Houston. They were a great story last year. It was nice that they followed it up with another playoff run this year, but honestly, I wanted to see them be better than they were this year. I hate to say it that way, but
Yeah, but also like interesting with Houston for a 10-7 team, a team that's 3 games over 500. Well, technically, only 2 games over 500, but they have 3 more wins than they do losses. They ended the season scoring and allowing 372 points. Where Kansas City was 385 to 326. So
okay.
And you kind of have to take out the 31 or whatever it was that Denver.
Yeah, that final game. Yeah.
Yeah, even for that. So
which swings it even better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Then we have
yeah.
Going on to Sunday.
Going on to Sunday. Sunday. I see what you did there.
Also the Kansas City is favored by 8.5.
Okay.
In that game.
Sunday.
So Sunday we have the Rams at the Eagles. In November, these two teams played, and the Eagles won 35-20. And the key to that game really was Saquon. Saquon had 255 total yards and two touchdowns. But then again, since November, this Rams team's been playing better, and the defense has been playing better.
The defensive line and the secondary, they've been, I think maybe linebacker probably better too. But I hear a lot about the defensive line in particular, and a lot about the secondary in particular.
Yeah, and also the Eagles, they dominated the Packers, but Jalen Hurts didn't really throw the ball that well last week.
Yeah, I think that's another one where it's kind of like the Packers lost that game. The Eagles won it, but it was, to me, it was more the Packers losing it than the Eagles winning it.
Exactly. And I need to fact check this, and I'm not going to be able to, but according to this article on CBS Sports, Matthew Stafford is one of the best postseason quarterbacks in history.
Yep, he's got one of the actually he has the highest yards per game right now.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like who would have known? All you have to do is get him on a team that can play. Like, did the trade really matter? Could Stafford? Let's not even talk about that.
Doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter. It's what propelled Detroit to get here. If Stafford was still on the Lions, we would still be, probably not in the playoffs.
Exactly. Well, I do want, in a weird way, I want the Rams to win this game. Yeah. And I will be rooting for the Rams to win this game. And the reason I will be rooting for the Rams to win this game is because the matchup it would set up next week to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, that'd be crazy, yeah.
Do I think the Rams can? Yes, I do think they have a chance at winning the game. I think the Eagles are going to squeak out a close game. The spread on this game is 6, which I think is way too high. The Eagles are laying 6 points. I think that's a little bit high. I think it's more let's call it a pick'em game.
Sure.
And so the Eagles should only be laying 3 points for the home field. And I think that's what it ends up as, a 3-point win by the Eagles.
Gotcha.
And I gave it, to give you a chance, I gave it my 4 confidence.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, then maybe you see this coming. I originally was on Philly, but I am flipping to the Rams. And, earlier I talked about, hey, how I think Philly's maybe one of the most complete teams in the league and blah, 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 all that stuff. I also do look at the Rams and, I would say you got to give them credit because they have been here and done this before. The Eagles have too, right? But, um, you know, you hit on it. The Rams defense as of late has been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Philly offense has been very one-dimensional. They're 29th in passing, second in rushing. That probably is the right winning combination going against the Rams because I think the Rams are better when they're going up against a pass-first offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still going to take the Rams here with Stafford being able to, come from behind if he needs to and whatever. Puka Nakua, Cooper Cup. I just can't count them out in any games, and I got to make up some points. So I'm taking the Rams, and I'm giving them a 3. Sorry.
Yeah. So I initially picked this game as the Rams, and then I was going to send it to you, and then I was like, no, I went back to the Eagles, and then I went back to the Rams. Like, I changed this pick 5 times, so I could see the game going either way.
Yeah. Some flip-flopping sons of bitches.
And then we have Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS and Paramount Plus. Yay, we get to watch Tony Romo. I'm sorry. It's a 1-point spread. Actually, Baltimore is favored in the game by 1 point, which means if it was in Baltimore, it'd be a 4-point. So they played in week 4, and the Ravens won 35-10.
Yeah, they got to Josh Allen. I saw a highlight earlier where they strip sacked him, Kyle Van Noy, and just fucking, it was wild.
And really the key, and they even talked about it during the Lions game, and the Lions couldn't do this. The key to stopping Josh Allen is not allowing him to roll out to the right. So I'm obviously giving this my three confidence on it because I really don't know which team to pick. Like, from what I've seen of the teams lately, I think the Bills are playing just slightly better. But then again, but am I discounting the fact that the Ravens had divisional matchups towards the end of the season and tougher divisional matchups than Buffalo did? But then again,
yeah, I did see something earlier that that was called out, and I think the devil's advocate point to it was, well, maybe that helps Buffalo, right? Because they didn't have to get beat up as bad at the end of the year.
exactly. And they also
and then the crazy thing too, which is which I saw people comparing Lamar and Josh Allen for MVP, and they talked about how many fourth quarters did Josh Allen get to sit because they were that far up. and if he would have played, how much more boosted would his stats be? And is he the real MVP? Lamar is just getting it because Baltimore was basically coming down to the wire in so many more games, that's a weird one, right? But I mean, Lamar's had a phenomenal season, but I saw one guy basically making the claim that Josh Allen's stats could easily be 15% higher if he would have played as much as Lamar.
I don't know if that's.
Yeah, no, and I know I'm going on a crazy tangent here. I guess what I'm saying is, I think you have two quarterbacks playing their best football, and two teams in different divisions where one of them's a fairly competitive division, and the other one is fairly dog shit. So it's kind of weird, right? But it's yeah, and then I don't know. It's like I like that Baltimore's been able to run the shit out of the ball this year, but then I also look at it and I'm like, well, you know what? Buffalo's actually done that too with James Cook and Ray Davis, although Davis is in concussion protocol still. So
Exactly, and that's what we're at. Like, and so like when I'm so split on a game, my mind. I said this before. I'll say it probably again in the future. You go with the best coach, best quarterback. But I think Buffalo has the best quarterback, but Baltimore has the best coach.
yeah, I prefer Harbaugh.
I really think this is a must-win game for McDermott to keep his job.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm actually gonna go with Baltimore.
Okay.
Crazy stat I saw is leaning me this way. It's so they're Josh Allen is 4-1 in the wild card round.
Oh yeah, I saw
Or
this. Yeah.
1-3 in the divisional round. I just
Yeah.
Something's telling me to go with Baltimore in this game.
Yeah, no, hey, that's fine. I'm going to flip you to Baltimore. If you didn't flip, I was going to flip. But since you flipped, I will stay Buffalo because I want to try and get these fucking 7 points back. So, so it's a 4 point confidence factor for me, a 3 for you.
All right. Then we're obviously on to, if those that are paying attention, both of us are giving this a 6-point confidence factor. Interesting meme I saw this weekend.
Okay.
Did you remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yes, I do.
You remember when he like rented out the house for like the movie studio, so like the living, or like no, the very end when they moved out of the house, like the last episode, the last scene was him just standing in a vacant living room with the rug in the middle of it.
I don't remember that off the top of my head.
So what I saw was it was that picture, and it said underneath, it said the Detroit Lions about to start the playoffs with looking for the NFC North. Vacant room, NFC
Yeah.
North's
Yeah.
all knocked out.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're on to the
Yeah, I mean, which is, 3 teams got in, right? So that's
yeah.
impressive, but 2, boom, see ya.
Yeah. We're on to Commanders at the Lions, those paying attention, those who listen to us, huge Lions fans. I think this is I'm not saying it's a cinch to win, but I think this is the best / worst possible matchup for the Lions.
Yeah.
It's the best possible matchup because it's the most beatable team. It's the worst possible matchup because the Lions, and which is evident with the Buffalo game, struggle stopping a mobile quarterback.
Jackpot. I was going to say the exact same thing. But now also the best part of the matchup too is that Washington is one of the worst teams at stopping the run.
Yes.
And we are a very strong run team with David Montgomery back in the mix too. So we could hypothetically control the tempo of the game and keep Jaden Daniels off the field a little bit. But I'm with you, dude. It scares the shit out of me that we are so bad at stopping mobile quarterbacks. I would just say you just fucking tell Anzalone, hey, man, you're going to spy Jaden Daniels this whole game. I don't care. It just has to happen.
Yeah, so in passing
Or
yards
Brian Branch. Pick one.
Passing yards per game, the Commanders allow 183 versus middle of the pack, 101 rushing yards per game.
Okay, see, I was told earlier today they were like 28th in rushing or something, run defense. But that must be on some other metric then.
On a yards per game basis, they're like 6th.
Yeah, that's weird then, because that definitely changes the script quite a bit.
Yeah, they're 6th. Baltimore's number 1 at 29 yards per game.
Okay.
Baltimore only allows 20. That can't be fucking right. Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Washington's allowed 2,300 yards on the ground. They're 29th against the run.
Yeah, so for some reason, I clicked 2024 postseason or regular season, but it's only showing me postseason stats. Okay, that's why. I'm like, why are there?
Makes sense. I got you.
Team statistics, 2024 regular season. That would be fun.
Oh, the Lions are not good against the pass, but it's okay. He's a mobile quarterback.
Yards per game, passing, the Commanders allow 189, and rushing, they allowed their 30th at 137.5.
Oh yeah, 30th. I said 29. Yeah, sorry.
Only the Saints and the Panthers allowed more rushing yards per game.
Okay.
Where the Lions in passing yards per game are 2nd, and rushing yards per game are
like 6th or something. Yeah.
6th.
Yeah.
Okay. So for some reason it gave me playoff when it clearly said regular season. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, we just need the Lions offense to keep humming. And, they're coming off of a week of rest, which is good in terms of we have so many fucking injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't want them to be rusty on offense because that's what we need to win this game, is that the defense is the more likely to be exposed over the long haul of the game. The offense is the one that's got to, toe the line here. And, because it's like defense, man, here's the thing is we got all these guys hurt, but we didn't get anybody back on defense because all the guys that we got hurt on defense are out for, until next year out. So it's like, but it helps having the week of rest because we were definitely burning the candle from both ends at the end of the year.
So where I'm going with this game and the reason why I'm picking the Lions is while, yes, Jaden Daniels just did win a road playoff game, it's a lot different playing in Tampa than how it's going to be playing in Detroit this weekend. And Ford Field, they might fucking shake that thing to the ground. It's going to be so fucking loud in that place.
Yeah.
And I have concerns with a veteran quarterback like Josh Allen can see through the looks that Aaron Glenn is sending at him.
Potentially, yes.
I don't know if Jaden Daniels can. Well, Jaden Daniels is going to make some plays.
Yeah, he'll get some first down, like some maybe third and long. He'll run it and get it and whatever. But yeah, I think Aaron Glenn is a very savvy defensive coordinator, and he's been dialing up some of his finest shit this year with like one of the most banged up defenses in the league. I think it's actually they got the most guys on IR on defense in the league. And so if you factor that in, I think the dude's done a hell of a job.
Yeah, and it's one thing, and I think Fox should make Brady point this fucking out during the game, is both offensive coordinators in this game, the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and I forget who is it, Kingsbury, that's the Commanders offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Both coordinators were interviewed by Tom Brady as part owner of the Raiders for the Raiders head coaching job, and they should fucking make him say that out loud and point it out and disclose it.
Okay.
That being said,
yeah, which I heard Kingsbury's not likely to take a head coaching job this cycle because Arizona is still paying him through next year, but that's just one of the rumors I've heard. But yeah, funny how those contracts work, huh? But yeah, Detroit, obviously, we're both fucking rocking them a 6.
Yeah. So points scored this season, it's 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a top 5 matchup.
Okay.
Points against this season, Washington's allowed 50 points more than Detroit this season. And in differential, it's like 94 versus 222. Like, it's not even a contest.
Gotcha.
I do like the fact that Detroit had to play everybody against the Vikings. I also, an interesting thing, and I wanted to go, I saw this after our show when we talked about question of the week, about who got it right with Kansas City sitting everybody versus
and like
Detroit playing
Saquon and
and versus Detroit playing everybody. And something I read after that episode that really resonated with me is playing your starters in a meaningless game aren't about the offensive looks that you're showing the team you're playing. They're about the offensive looks you're putting on tape to make a future opponent have to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think.
Yeah, and you got to think about fucking everything with the Lions.
Yeah, like I mean, fuck, like against. I don't even remember what game it was. Was it the San Francisco game where they had the fake fumble where
I think that was
fucking Goff is stumbling and then it wasn't Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs was diving like he was trying to dive on the ball, and then they threw the touchdown to Laporta.
Yeah, so, it's interesting you say that because I did see something, this was a couple weeks ago on NFL Network, and I don't remember if they broke down the stats or not, but basically they were saying when you look league-wide at the success rate of what you would call like a trick play, it is very, very low. Like, that's why you don't see that many of them, because most of the time they just don't fucking work at the NFL level. But they
Well,
were
that's how
saying
Mixon's
when you
fumble
look at the
happened.
Lions,
That's how Mixon's fumble happened. Like
yeah,
he was
yeah,
it was a it was a backwards pass to Mixon, and he was looking to throw the ball.
yeah, not, yeah, they're just not, it just not, it's risky. But they were basically saying when you look at the Lions, it's the opposite. They work almost all of the fucking time for the Lions.
Hmm.
And it's, they talk a lot about how the Lions practice these things a lot every week. And the coaches have told the players every week, hey, as long as it's still working, we'll keep practicing them and we'll keep calling them. But if it starts to go cold, it's done. And I don't
Hmm.
know if it'll ever be done, because the players are obviously eating that shit up and they're taking it very seriously,
But
which they should.
that's the thing. Like where you look at Minnesota, Detroit practices these trick plays and stuff that actually relates to something that affects the game. And
Yes.
then you go to Minnesota. Minnesota, they said they spend a half hour a day practicing their celebrations.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah. And then wait, was it the Chargers had that what do you call it? Like the uncontested kick?
Oh, the fair
What's the
catch
word?
kick.
What's it called?
It's a fair catch kick.
Yeah, fair catch kick. After that game, Harbaugh said they fucking practiced that.
Hmm.
It's like, holy shit, like what coach in the league is practicing something that hasn't happened in 50 years? Well,
So
someone that's not fucking around, that's who.
so it was the Super Bowl that went into overtime with New England. I forget who they were playing, but New England had a situation where, and I was reading about it, and I'm going to actually look it up so I'm not misquoting it. But they had a situation at the end of the game where they could have done the fair catch kick to
Okay.
win the Super Bowl, but Belichick decided against it, because the risk of missing it and
It being
it being run back,
turned. Okay.
returned for a score, and losing the Super Bowl was too high.
Oh, it didn't pass his analytics.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because they were okay. Yeah, so it was Patriots known for his not Belichick known for not only obscure football rules, declined the opportunity to attempt a 75-yard fair catch kick
mm,
at the end of regulation of Super Bowl
75 yard.
51. Gutowski, well, it's a kickoff. Gutowski was kicking kickoffs through the uprights.
75 yards it's still pretty goddamn far, dude.
Felt that the risk that was the Falcons Super Bowl. The
Okay.
risk of the Falcons returning it
Yeah, who'd
was
they have
too
back then?
high.
Cordero Patterson, maybe?
Yeah.
I
But
could see how you'd get
then
spooked with that.
there was and I was reading about like known like in like some high school athletic association, the a team did a fair catch kick
Okay.
to win the state championship.
Oh, geez. That'd be crushing if you're in high school, man.
Yeah.
By the way,
Where
man, my kid's school, Notre Dame Prep, won the fucking state championship.
really?
Yeah. I knew they were good when I went to the homecoming game and everything. They were like 6-0 or something, but I stopped paying attention there for a minute, and then somebody was just asking me. They're like, "Did they win it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I guess I should check." And then frickin' yeah, they won it for football and for soccer, man. They just frickin' doubled
Jeez.
down this year. So good for them. But obviously the football part I'm crazy excited about, because I've seen some of the games and whatnot, but yeah, pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking for where it was. But apparently the fair catch kick is not, it's allowed at the high school level, it's allowed at the
Okay.
professional level, but not at the college level.
Oh, that's weird. Yes, there's like a gap there where you would
Yeah.
have to learn it and use it, and then all of a sudden not, and then oh, it's back again.
And I apologize for this tangent about it, but I love
That's
to
fine.
obscure
That's fine.
football rules because in 1950 the NCAA abolished the fair catch for 1 year, and by abolishing the fair catch, they abolished the fair catch kick. The following season, they brought back the fair catch, but did not
Yeah.
reinstitute the fair catch kick.
Gotcha. Good to know. Good to know.
I'm not finding it, but it was like some. But the thing with the fair catch kick is even if time runs out, on a fair catch, the game is automatically extended by one play for the kick.
Yep.
So I'm going to look it up and I'll tell you about it later. So why don't you go on to question of the week?
Sure. Yeah. So question of the week, as I was talking about earlier, is this time of year we look at the coach openings, head coach openings, and we talk about who we think is what team we think is the most attractive for a head coach. And we know New England already locked theirs up with Vrabel, so that leaves in no particular order the Jets, the Cowboys, the Jags, the Bears, the Raiders, and the Saints. And I have not done a deep dive into any of these because salary cap, I think, is a huge factor. Draft capital is a huge factor. The state of the roster is a huge factor. Ownership is a huge factor, which I would say is a negative in terms of Dallas. And maybe even the Jets, I would say it's a negative. But then, it just, yeah, the state of the roster can be a different thing. Like I would have thought New England would have been good because Drake May looked very promising for being behind like a bottom five offensive line. Um, Dallas, depending on who you're talking to, might want to go into a situation where they get Dak because he's a proven veteran quarterback. Otherwise, it's like, some of these, you're rolling the dice, risking a rookie quarterback or trading or getting maybe you sign Darnold or Cousins or whatever. And so, they all have pros and cons. And so tonight's not meant to focus a ton of time on it. It's more shooting from the hip and just sort of quick brainstorming and hashing it out. Who do we think is the most attractive opening? And if I'm looking at it and I'm just just real quick, I would probably right off the bat cross off Dallas. I don't think that you want to go working for Jerry Jones with the way he meddles with the business. I think you want to go to a team that's got a real GM and a real structure and, that you can have real autonomy. The Jets, I don't like how they just did Robert Saleh, but they do have talent on defense and talent on offense. The missing piece for them is the quarterback. And so if you think there's a path to getting the quarterback this year, I think the Jets are attractive. The Jags, I think, are in total fucking disarray. They got a bunch of fucking mercenaries on that team that don't care about playing as a team. I'd fucking stay away from them. Plus, it's a Florida team, which means they got a shitty fan base. Chicago is crazy attractive, and I know that Poles has said that they're going to be the most attractive opening. But it all depends on how much you believe in Caleb Williams. I think other than him, all of the pieces are there. But you have to decide, is Caleb Williams truly a franchise quarterback or not? And I'm not so sure. He did set a bunch of rookie records, by the way. But then you got the Raiders. They cut Pierce. Not the end of the world. A lot of people expected it. You got a couple pieces on defense and a couple pieces on offense, and that's about it. They got a lot of rebuilding to do. It's interesting how Brady is involved in it. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't, because that could be attractive to bring in players and do things like that. But could that turn into a Jerry Jones thing with the Raiders? I don't know. Time will tell. And then you got the Saints. Historically in salary cap hell, you're kind of handcuffed with Derek Carr. The defense has gotten way long in the tooth at this point, but they do have a couple younger pieces on offense. It just, I don't know. That's the quick kind of breakdown, man. And I think if I was looking at this as a head coach, and I'm biased obviously because I'm a Lions fan, I would probably give the edge to the Jets opening because I'm not sold on Caleb Williams as a quarterback. I think I would almost rather have the clean slate and get to pick my guy and know that I've got wide receivers and running backs and an offensive line and all sorts of shit tons of talent on defense. I just got to find a quarterback. I think I would like the Jets. They get the edge for me for now. If we were doing a full session, I'd probably go way deeper than that. But what do you think, my man?
So I think you're right on. Jerry Jones meddles too much for the Cowboys being.
You want to go to Vegas so you can gamble and party. I get it.
Being attractive. The thing with the Raiders, I don't find the Raiders attractive because of the fact that how many coaches you're just gonna be fired in two years.
Yeah. And it could be kind of a bad spot to have young, immature players, right?
Yeah.
You got them living in Sin City. I mean, it's like asking for trouble.
Yeah. Then Jacksonville, I don't know if Jacksonville is a good fit because it's just like Jacksonville.
I mean, if you believe Trevor Lawrence is legit, well then, hey, you got him for the next couple of years. But if you're like me and you think the dude's a bum, oh, you got to stay away from that fucking place.
But also, I just don't like. What I don't like about Jacksonville is I think Trevor Lawrence has to show that he's truly
actually a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they already signed him long term, didn't they?
Yeah, but that's it. That's what the issue is you're locked into him long term.
Yeah.
And
you got to look at his tape and be like, oh my God, I know how to unlock his potential and drool over it. Otherwise, you would never want to get in bed with that.
Exactly.
And I would say it's similar with the Saints and Derek Carr. But I think most people historically would say Derek Carr doesn't have the ceiling as Trevor Lawrence, even though he's probably played better than Trevor Lawrence.
Yes. I think New England was somewhat attractive because of Drake May.
Yeah. Yeah, they need a ton of pieces, but Drake May looks really fucking promising. What do you think about Chicago, though? Let's break them down, man. They got all sorts of wide receivers and tight ends. They got running backs. Maybe they could have a stronger offensive line. They've got players all over defense. They've got two really good linebackers. They've got good players on the defensive line. They got good players in the secondary. You know, it's just, do you believe in Caleb Williams or not? Because that's really the only question for Chicago. And honestly, you know, if you could like maybe work your deal right where you're like, hey, listen, I come in and I'm not sold. We're either trading for a guy or we're drafting a guy, you know, because I think this is a fucking team. I'm just not sure about him. And I don't like his off the field distractions already, how he already owns like a fucking private equity group and all this shit for all his off the field businesses that he wants to do. It's like, come on, dude. You just got to the NFL and before you even took a snap in the NFL, you already had businesses up and running. I mean, like, how distracted are you? How about you focus on winning and building the team and getting to a fucking Super Bowl, man? That is your job. You know? To me, that is the job. All this other shit you shouldn't be allowed to do to some degree.
Yeah. New Orleans, like, I mean, New Orleans figures out the salary cap, but I mean, you're kind of hitched a car.
Yeah, New Orleans is one of my bottom feeders. I think you have such an aging defense, and you know you got the Derek Carr mess. You got Kamara's aging. You know, Taysom Hill's great, but he's a gadget guy. It's like, to me, it's just New Orleans needs to be blown up and started over. It just, when is that going to happen? And if you're a coach that's like got any prospects at all, I don't think you take that on. I
Yeah.
think you're the coach that, you know, you're like the outside chance for any of these jobs, and New Orleans knows that. And so they bring you in because they don't really have a ton of other options.
I don't like the Jets. They have pieces there, but the uncertainty at quarterback concerns me.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of their owner either, but I think that the state of their roster is the best, with exception to maybe the Bears.
I think the Bears is the most attractive because either way,
But now think about it though. You're the Bears. You're walking into having to play the Lions twice a year, the Vikings twice a year, and the fucking Packers twice a year. So you got to go against three playoff teams twice a year right off the bat, man. That's an uphill battle.
yeah, but
I mean, the Jets, you just got to worry about Buffalo.
true. I just I think I think Chicago might have something in Caleb Williams. I don't know
Okay.
how good he is, but I mean, I think with the uncertainty at quarterback with the Jets,
Yeah.
where you're walking in and you don't know who's going to be the quarterback versus you already know who's going to be the quarterback, and if you get fired in 2 years because it's not winning, it's like, look, I was saddled with Caleb Williams, and
Yeah, you gave me this guy, and he was a number one overall pick, so I wasn't able to flop him out.
mm-hmm.
You know, that's on you, not on me. Yeah, I guess you could kind of, you know, throw the owner or somebody else under the bus and say, well, hey, man, I coached the shit out of this team, and this fucking quarterback's a bum.
Yeah, and I think that with with Chicago, like you have a built-in excuse where with the Jets, you're basically going to be picking who the quarterback is.
Yeah, and you're in the media spotlight all the time. So if it's not
Yeah.
working, you know, you're getting grilled every week.
Mm-hmm.
So you give the edge to Chicago.
Yeah, I give the edge to Chicago.
Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to know for now. That's our question of the week. And nobody will play question of the week because nobody ever has. But at least for you and I, it's fun to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, James. Well, hey, my man, I think that's about it for tonight, unless you got any closing thoughts. Go
I
Lions.
don't think so. Go Lions.
Okay. Anybody who's
Maybe.
watching, we hope you like the show. Subscribe, thumbs up, all that, whatever. And we'll catch you next week. James, like always, it was good, man.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
See you, dude.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.